Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about cinemas, and in particular why people aren't going to see modern movies. Because so often in the media now, we're hearing all these reports of people aren't seeing the new Furiosa, people aren't seeing the new movies coming out, people aren't running out to see the Planet of the Apes, even though it's done really well at the box office. So what is wrong? Why aren't people going to the cinemas? Well, first things first, we have to analyze what's happening in the world right now. The cost of living crisis is affecting everyone. And, simple supplies, food that you might buy from Woolworths or Coles in Australia here, or Walmart or whatever in America, you would be paying a lot more for that food than you would have been paying a year to 3 years ago. So the cost of living has went up while wages haven't went up. And many people cannot justify going to a cinema and paying. Well, let me put the tickets into perspective. In Australia, in Sydney, this is Sydney, if I wanted to go and watch a movie at Event Cinemas in George Street or at Hoyt's, the tickets would usually be around $20 at start. Unless they had movie of the week, then it might be 10, they might put it $10 to $15 if it was movie of the week. And yes, people do have the points system through their loyalty services, so people do have access to points, and they might get a free ticket here and there. But they're never for the new blockbusters, and also, cinemas can't sustain letting people see free movies, essentially. Because, wages, you have to pay the workers, so on. So, we run into this whole dilemma of the cinema going experience is just too expensive for the current climate. And people cannot justify going to a cinema and paying $20, $30 to $40 for a ticket. And that's depending on what you see. Like, the standard sessions are $20. If you go and see it in VMAX or Extreme Screen, you might be paying $27.50. And this is in Sydney. This is ticket prices I've seen. And, if you want to see 4DX or something, that's like $35, almost $40. And IMAX is around the same price as that, if you want to go downtown to the IMAX in the new Sydney IMAX. So people cannot justify that cost for a movie that's probably going to be on streaming in about a month. And also you have to take into account that people want to snack at the cinemas. People want to have their drinks. People want to have popcorn. People want to have all this other stuff. Some places are charging $15 for popcorn. Or if you're getting a small one, like one that wouldn't even be value, that's about $10. So the cost of going to a cinema, the cinema theater chains are literally sabotaging themselves. It's not the cinema goers that are sabotaging it by not going to see the movies. It's these guys are being greedy with ticket prices and are essentially not adjusting to the current climate. People can't justify spending $100 and whatever dollars to take a family to the cinemas to see Planet of the Apes. And especially when it's going to be on streaming in probably a month. So that is one big reason why cinema goers, people are staying away from the cinemas. And don't get me wrong, because there are instances where people will go to the cinemas. Barbenheimer was a really good example of people going to the cinemas. Now, what did Barbenheimer do that everyone else didn't? Really smart marketing. They tied them together and said, okay, the ladies can go and see Barbie, the men can go and see Oppenheimer, or you can go as couples, you can go to each other's movies. Like, there was this big marketing campaign and nobody expected them to do as well as they did. And that was just really smart marketing. But what else was... Look at Barbenheimer and look at what else they did that nobody else was doing at the moment. Franchises. Now, I believe we are seeing the death of franchises in cinemas. Because, look, Mission Impossible came out at the same time as Barbenheimer. And they're reckoning, look, it was sabotaged by the release date. It came out a week before Barbenheimer, and, by then, Barbenheimer was already in full effect. But a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie did struggle to do well at the box office, and it did break even at the end. I think it made a little bit of profit. So it did well, not as well as the other Mission Impossible movies. Because a lot of cinema goers are just at that point where we just don't want to see franchise movies. I mean, look, I'm just looking over at Fast and Furious. How many Fast and Furious movies do we have? We have about, what, 10? Yeah, 10 Fast and Furious movies. You have, what, 7 Mission Impossible movies. You have 4 Mad Max movies. People don't want to do homework. They don't want to sit at home and say, oh, well, I want to go and see the new Furiosa movie. Oh, but I need to watch Fury Road. Or, I know people say, oh, you can watch it as a standalone. I understand people are saying, oh, just watch it as a standalone. It's a standalone. But people are going to want to watch the first few movies before they go and watch the new one. It's just how people are. It's how the audience are. So if you're saying, oh, by the way, you need to watch at least Fury Road, but if you want to do the whole experience, watch all the Mad Max movies. Most people will say, okay, cool, I'll just wait until it's on the streaming and I'll binge them all at once. And this is the error we're in, because they're releasing them too fast to streaming. And streaming just isn't profitable. Like, these companies are rushing films out to try to make streaming do better, but streaming, they should leave them in the cinemas as long as possible, because cinemas are profitable if you do it right. Just don't say you're going to put it on streaming in a month, because then people are going to say, oh, well, I'll just wait for the streaming, and I can watch I can have the whole family around, we'll all watch it together, and I don't have to pay an arm and a leg for snacks, because the candy bar is overpriced at half of these cinemas. So there, that is another reason why people are not going to the cinemas, because franchise movies are just becoming too much homework to keep up with. Look at the MCU. I mean, look, we're 24, 25, what is it? However many movies in? And you just see the quality of the MCU go off a cliff after, where was it? Where's Endgame? After Endgame. And look, we still got the Spider-Man there, but they were made by Sony. So you had the quality literally go off a cliff after Endgame. And look, the DCEU, you can say what you want about the DCEU, it never hit from the gate, so you can't say the same thing about the DCEU. DCEU needed to reboot. But MCU are still trying to keep that continuous narrative of, oh, this is all MCU. What I've been saying since Endgame has been, they need to just reboot it. Just go to a different universe. You don't have to get rid of everything that's come before. You don't have to recast Tony Stark. But look, you have things like the Fantastic Four there. You have Blade. Go to a different universe. You have the X-Men. Go to a different universe that isn't with all these characters in it, and start a new one. Have a different MCU, and then in about 10 or 20 odd years, have both MCUs cross over. That's what it should be. But they're focusing too much on, let's keep the narrative going to keep it all connected. And connecting it means that you basically have to watch 20 odd movies to understand what's going on in the MCU. And look, you can probably get by with watching the last phase or whatever. You can probably get by with watching the last phase of the MCU. But you would be expected to know at least some backstory about what happened in movies prior. So the MCU has become homework rather than a cinema experience that you can enjoy. And if you're new to the MCU, I feel sorry, because you guys have to watch however many of these movies, and then you've also got the TV shows that are on Disney+. You've got to go and watch, where is WandaVision? You got to go watch WandaVision then, because if you don't watch WandaVision, if you don't watch 6 episodes of WandaVision, or was it 6 episodes? Might have been 8 episodes. Either way, however many episodes of WandaVision, if you haven't watched this, you're probably not going to understand what happened in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So, you know, they're asking a lot of homework of cinema goers. And it just hurts the film's appeal. Now, the thing with Deadpool is that you've got 2 Deadpool movies and the X-Men. So where is the X-Men? So you got X-Men here. I mean, you could watch X-Men, but how they're trying to present Logan or Wolverine in this Deadpool, from what I've heard, is they are trying to present him as a different variant of what you're seeing in these X-Men. And Deadpool is the Deadpool in these 2 movies, so you've only got 2 movies to really watch if you want to understand Deadpool. But, I mean, you could go in blind if you want, but the variation of Wolverine means that people don't have to go and watch 9 movies of X-Men. They can just come in to Deadpool and say, okay, cool, I want to watch Wolverine versus Deadpool. They go in, they watch Wolverine versus Deadpool. Limited homework. And look, that's another reason, cost of living, also the price of entry for a cinema, and also the streaming giants of just, let's just push it on the streaming services after a month. These are many reasons of why people aren't going to the cinemas. But, as Barbenheimer showed, people want to go to the cinemas. People want an experience at the cinemas. They don't want to just go and watch trashy franchise movies that they're just going to make a second, third installment of in about 6 months. They want to watch something that they can get into, that feels like a significant event. I mean, Oppenheimer was shot on film, and Nolan was saying, you need to see this in IMAX, or if you don't see it in IMAX, at least see it on film. Like, this is how it's meant to be seen. And people got into it. People were like, yeah, I need to go and watch Oppenheimer on film, because that is how it's intended. Barbie was more like, go and see it with your friends, go and see it, because you need to see this movie with friends. It's about connecting with each other, not just sitting on a couch and watching it. So the marketing was great around those. But, is cinema actually dead? This is the question that keeps getting put forward to everyone. And I think the cinemas are really hurting themselves by not doing showings of older movies. I mean, look at, anytime there's a screening of the Rocky Horror Picture Show on around Sydney, it usually sells out. Anytime there's a screening of The Room, it sells out. Anytime there's a screening of Star Wars, it sells out. You go to the IMAX in Sydney, the big IMAX they built. Yeah, they'll have Furiosa there, they'll have all the new movies there, they'll have Oppenheimer, they'll have all these new movies coming out that were screened on that screen. Killers of the Flower Moon. But you put The Dark Knight on that IMAX screen, it will sell out every session you put it on that screen. And why is that? Because people can say, yeah, I love this movie, and I want to experience it on that big screen. I don't want to watch it at home. I want to experience it with an audience in the theatre, watching it on that bigger screen in Sydney, or watching it in any theatre in Sydney, or any theatre in Australia. People will come and see The Dark Knight. And I think not doing throwbacks a lot, just focusing, solely relying on, okay, we just need to screen the modern movies, do 14 different sessions of Furiosa, that doesn't work. And look, I'm a fan of Mad Max, it's Australian cinema, but I haven't even seen Furiosa at the moment because I know it's going to be on streaming in about a month, and also it's just too hard to justify the cost. And also I don't have the time to actually see Furiosa. You're asking me to sit there for 3.5 hours, or whatever it is, 2.5 to 3 hours, whatever it was. These run times on cinema, on films, are becoming ridiculous. And I get it. You want to put as much in the film as possible. You want to make people feel like they've had an experience. And I know, who was it? Might have been Cameron. Cameron came out and said, you can sit through a play, but you can't sit through a film. You will sit there and watch this film 3.5 hours, or 3 hours, whatever Avatar was. But people at home will just pause it, go to the loo, go get snacks, whatever they want to do, and then come back, unpause it, keep watching, take breaks. It's unhealthy to say, oh, you'll sit there for a 4-hour movie. And yeah, back in the day, you would maybe see 1 3-hour movie every year. You might see a Titanic, and then the next 3-hour movie you might see is maybe, I don't know, what's the next one that came after Titanic? But you know, you might see Avatar, and then you would have to wait a year until like the next big 3-hour movie came out, the next big blockbuster. But it seems like every movie in the cinemas these days is at least 3 hours. And and look, I love that people are getting their money's worth, that, yeah, you can go and you can go to this theatre for 3 hours. But it just doesn't work, because people don't want to sit in a cinema for 3 hours watching a movie that, honestly, they might not like after an hour. And then you're asking them to sit there for 2 more hours. And look, action stuff like Avatar is going to do well. People are going to stay there for the duration of the film. But there are so many instances I've seen of people just walking out of the cinema like 3/4 of the way through, because they can't stand sitting there any longer. Or the worst thing is, when you go to the cinema, you just see these kids on their phones, or like people just up the back just having a chat, like don't care. Like, it's just, we've become so resigned to the fact that cinema is meant to be an experience, because it's become a chore at this point. Oh, we should go and see the new Furiosa, or we should go and see the new Planet of the Apes, because that's what's expected of us as a society. Not, oh, I should go and see it because I enjoy it, because I'm a fan of this franchise, because I liked what they did with the last installment, because this is a new franchise in the case of Barbie or whatever. It shouldn't be a chore to watch a movie. And also, the streaming services need to stop putting them out, or the studios need to stop putting them out on streaming services after 30 days. Because I know, it's a moneymaker. I get it's a moneymaker. But you're impacting what potential the box office has. I mean, isn't that why, let me get it off the shelf. Isn't that why Scarlett Johansson sued Disney? Because this was put on streaming instead of giving it its cinematic release date? And Don't get me wrong, Scarlett Johansson made a lot of money for Black Widow. Don't get me wrong on that one. But if her contract said you will earn X amount of royalties from the cinema release, and then Disney said, oh, we're not going to put it out in cinemas, she loses money. And yes, you might say, oh, boo-hoo, she earns, what, 60, 70, blah, or million from this movie. But she signed a contract, and Disney said, oh, we're just going to put it on streaming. And that's why she sued, I believe. And that's what I have heard. That's what I have read. And obviously, look, Disney settled with her, and they're, I believe, on good terms. I don't know what's going on with Scarlett Johansson and MCU. But the fact that she would have signed a contract and they just said, oh, we're just going to put it on streaming, it impacts the overall box office that movie could have earned. And I get it. The world had changed during that era when that film came out. We were going through a tumultuous time in the history of the world. And I can't mention the word because I know people have said don't mention that word. But, yeah, you know what I mean. So, why are we being blamed as cinema goers for cinemas not doing well? And people on TV urging us, just go and see a movie. Well, people want to pay for quality. If we have to do homework and watch 7 other films before it, and be like, oh, okay, so I don't want to binge them all in one day and just go and watch the new movie. Like, even Bad Boys, I have not seen Bad Boys 3. And that came out, what, years ago? I've got it here on my shelf somewhere. I still have not seen Bad Boys 3, but I feel like, oh, I should probably watch it because I do want to go and see the new Bad Boys movie. But then it's about, oh, I have to find the time, because if I'm going to watch Bad Boys 3, I'd want to watch the first 2 as well, and just rewatch them, because I haven't watched them in a couple of years. Rewatch 1 and 2, then watch number 3, and then maybe see number 4. And then you get into the struggle of, with franchise films, time. Where am I going to find this time? We're in a cost of living crisis, and a lot of us are working more than ever, and we have to... Look, if Bad Boys said, okay, it's a complete standalone, you can come into this film as a casual viewer, and we will not put anything in before you that you won't understand. Like, yes, there'll be some backstory there with character development, but you can watch it as a standalone. That would work. But I get it. It's a franchise film. You need to have that connection. But to say cinema's dying because franchise films aren't doing well is a mistake, and it's also not accurate. Because as I said, where is it? I'm going to get it down here, 1 second, if I can find it. You put this in a cinema, it sells out instantly. Like, I was struggling to get tickets for the IMAX session of The Dark Knight. And why is that? Because people want to see good cinema on the big screen. And when you're just putting on the new movies that are going to be out on streaming in a month, cinemas could make a stand and say, you know what? We don't care about your new movies. We're going to put Titanic on the big screen. Where's Titanic here? It is here somewhere. There it is. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm just going to get it. You can have a look at my cool Undertaker shirt at the back. But, you know, Titanic sells out as well. Like, I went to a screening of this at Orpheum on 70mm. Not Orpheum, what was it? The Ritz at Randwick. And it was on 70mm, and it was like, this is freaking awesome to see it on 70mm. And yeah, it looks different on 70mm. It's a pristine print. But this is really good. Like, people will come back and say, yeah, I want to go and watch Titanic. We can make it like a date night. If you have a partner, you can make it a date night. You can do stuff with this. It's also good cinema. It's one of my favorite movies. And, you know, people will come and watch it. If you put it on, people will come. But people don't want to bet on unknown commodities. Like, they're not going to run out and say, oh, I need to go and watch the new Baywatch because The Rock's in it. And yes, he's the biggest star in the world. People will go and see Baywatch. Even though, look, it's 5 years, 6 years old at this point, however, whenever it was made. People will go and see Baywatch. People will go and watch The Rock. But people don't want to say, oh, I'm just going to watch it because The Rock's in it. They'll go and see it because it's like, okay, it's a good movie. I've heard word of mouth. I've heard people like this movie. And look, another movie that does really well at the box office, whenever you put it back in the cinemas, is, where's my sci-fi section here? It is over here. Interstellar always sells out as well, like The Dark Knight. And you might say, oh, Nolan movies do really well because they're all shot in 70mm. I've even seen things, standard sessions that aren't 70mm at IMAX. I've seen stuff at George Street cinemas in town, in Sydney, sell out for screenings of Interstellar. I've seen films like this sell out because it is such a good movie, people just want to see it in the cinema, on a big screen. But also, you have to look at the cost of a movie like that. Might be, okay, you might pay $15 for that, because it's not a new movie, it's something that's been around for a while. It might be a bit cheaper to watch that movie, and it might be a bit more justifiable. And if you put movies like, as I said, Rocky Horror Picture Show in the cinemas, it will sell out, because it draws an audience. Film goers want to see good movies. They want to pay to see good movies. I've got a collection of DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, because I love cinema. But I haven't been to the cinema once this year, because what's been coming out this year? Franchise films. Just franchise film, Godzilla, whatever. I should have seen -1 though. I didn't get around to -1 because literally it was in cinemas for 1 week, and then it was like there was basically no sessions. And if I wanted to go and see a session, it was like some weird time that I couldn't get to. But, if -1 was given the same release schedule as Furiosa or Planet of the Apes, I would have caught it. I would have been like, yeah, I want to go to the IMAX and watch the new -1. Is it -1? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's -1. The Godzilla movie, the Japanese one, not the franchise Hollywood one. I would go and see it, and I'll be like, yeah, I want to watch the new Godzilla. But literally, I blinked, and it was out of cinemas already. They're doing this to themselves. And I don't think it's fair on cinemas to blame us as the cinema goers for their sloppiness. You need to put your foot down with what the streamers are doing and the big studios and say, you know what? If you're going to release it on streaming in 30 days, we're not going to screen it. And you watch every studio backtrack after that. You watch them all say, okay, we'll release it on our own, and then they don't make their money back because streaming just isn't profitable. Or they will say, okay, no, we'll give it a 90-day, 120-day, whatever release window. We will not put it on streaming in that 120 days or whatever. Then you'll make it a 4-month run in the cinemas, and it will make its money. But this is the problem. They're coming out too fast on streaming, and cinemas need to put their foot down with it, and they also need to take a lot more like A24 movies on, or like screen order stuff. Like, I would run to the cinema, and where's something here? Like, if they put Jurassic Park back in the cinemas for a week, and just said, you want to come and watch Jurassic Park? We're going to have it on the big screen, we're going to have it with all the enhancements, we're going to have Dolby Vision, like, it's going to be an experience, and you can see it for $15. You watch that cinema sell out. There's nothing wrong with cinema going. It's to do with the cinemas and the way they're treating the streamers at the moment. They need to put their foot down, and also they need to make tickets cheaper for the cost of living. And I get it, you have to pay wages. I get that wages are a big part. But if you sell out a cinema for The Dark Knight, you're making a lot of money, so you can pay wages. What is it? An hourly wage for someone working at the cinema might be $25, something like that. So, a couple hours there, three hours or so, that's $75 per person. You have about, 20-odd, 30-odd people there working at the cinema. But the house you get from selling at The Dark Knight or something would be a couple of thousand, You can cover it. And the cost of operation. And then the candy bar, open up the candy bar, put the prices down a bit. And yes, you might say, but it costs money to do all that. And I know this is becoming a bit of a rant, so I just feel like, when we hear stuff like The Project talk about nobody's going to the cinema, nobody wants to watch cinemas, everyone go to the cinema and watch this. There is a bigger problem that no one's addressing. Cost of living, length of the movies, value for the ticket you're paying, and also, it's going to be on streaming in like 30 days. And also, homework. Nobody wants to do homework. Nobody's got time to sit there and watch 10 Fast and Furious movies. And people might say, I have time. Good for you. Good for you. You have time to watch 10 different Fast and Furious movies. The average cinema goer does not. They might watch the last one just to get an idea of where it's at, but then you're asking the last movie to go back and watch the last movie, and it keeps working its way back. The best thing with the first Fast and Furious movie that I love about the first Fast and Furious movie was that it was basically standalone. Nothing was before it. Nothing, there wasn't, till a couple movies after, there was nothing really after it. Too Fast, Too Furious was after it, obviously, but it wasn't the same. It didn't have Dom in there, But anyways, I've ranted on for 25 minutes, and let me know what you think about cinemas, guys. What's some of your problems with the cinemas? And why aren't you going to watch movies? Are you going to watch movies? How many have you seen this year? Jump in my comments, because I think this is a topic that we need to analyse. And yeah, I'm just sick of us as cinema goers getting the blame for basically what is a Hollywood problem. Streamers are putting them out too fast, and they're making them too long, and, you know, guys, just let me know what you think, because I feel like we're getting a bad rap as cinema goers, and all it's going to do at the end of the day is put us off wanting to go back to the cinemas. So at the end of the day, they are hurting themselves by dissing us as the problem. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Catch you in the next one. Like, subscribe, drop a comment. I don't know. Tell me some of your favourite movies to watch in the cinema. Did you go and see The Dark Knight in the cinemas? On IMAX? How good is it? Also Interstellar. Interstellar is freaking awesome on that big screen. Anyways, guys,